Yes, indeed. Well, to shed more light on that issue, the issue of the president saying he won't be assenting to the 2016 budget in a hurry, but he needs to look at issues line by line, make sure every I is dotted and the T's are duly crossed. Well, to shed more light on the issues, I'm being joined on the program by a lawyer, Mr. Wahab Shittu. Thank you very much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you again for inviting me.
Also in Abuja studios is a former lawmaker, Honorable West Idahosa. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
All right, let me start with you, Mr. Shittu. The president is in Washington, D.C., and while speaking to the U.S. Secretary of State in the summit he's attending, he says he needs to critically review the documents that was sent to him before assenting to it. From the looks of things, the economy is at a standstill pending that assent. What impact is this going to have, not just on the economy, but the nation as a whole?
Well, thank you very much. Before you discuss the impact this is likely to make, I think it is also important to first of all examine the legality, because this is a government that has the credential that came to power riding on the platform of credibility, of integrity, of discipline, of transparency, of accountability, and more importantly, on the platform of zero tolerance for corruption. Now, given that background, you expect the president to be very careful in taking fundamental decisions. And this is the background that Nigerians will appreciate in looking at the action of our dear president on this issue. Remember that once he assents to the document, it becomes law. And then is bound by the consequences. What has been presented to the president, in my view, is akin to a table of contents. And you cannot claim that if you read the table of contents of a book, you have read the book.
Okay, how so? When you say table of contents, what do you mean by that?
I'm saying that what the National Assembly has presented to the president for his assent represent merely estimates without details. Now you want to ask yourself, what are the details contained in the bill sent to the president?
Okay.
What adjustments has been made to the initial proposal sent to the president?
Well,
what implemented?
Mr. Shittu,
yes.
This circumstance can be deemed unique, considering the fact that the budget, never before had there been a case where the budget was padded and there were alterations. Is there no provision for, legally speaking, for the president to take certain decisions to save in the interest of the nation?
Yes, that is precisely what the president is trying to do. The president, if you look at the budget, the appropriations sent to Mr. President, like I said, if assented to, it becomes law. And the Appropriation Act is a law. And if we look at the relevant provisions of our Constitution, it provides that under Section 81 of the Constitution, the President is entitled to the various heads of expenditure contained in the estimates.
All right, thank you very much.
You understand me? And so what the President is doing is in order, ensuring that the document reflects the will and aspirations of the regime.
All right, over to you now, Honorable West Idahosa. You've been in the National Assembly. Is this standard practice? Is this a norm where there's some kind of delay and back and forth between the legislature and the executive? Is this standard practice, or is this a one-off situation?
No, well, there's nothing unusual about this. What has happened is that the president this time is insisting on going through the details before appending his signature. Don't forget that under Section 59 of the Constitution, he has 30 days to do this. And so he's well within time And I think that because this budget has been particularly controversial, given that some ministers have denied some of the estimates and allegations of padding have been severely made against this particular budget, I think the president is being cautious to ensure that whatever he signs into law are realizable and they are signed with his eyes open and with a full knowledge of the details and line item estimates of the budget.
All right, Honorable Idahosa, is it also normal for the document, as Honorable Mr. Shitu described it, a table of contents to be sent to the President while the National Assembly is still working on the details of the document?
Well, I think what has happened is that the subheads of the estimates have been put together and forwarded on the basis of the budget itself for assent. But this has to do with the disposition of each president. I think under President Olusegun Obasanjo, such subheads sent to him were signed because some of those budgets did not have this controversy. Under President Yaradua, he always insisted on all the details before signing. And I think President Buhari has also chosen to see the details before signing. So what the National Assembly need to do is to hurry up with the details and send to Mr. President. And of course, he has 30 days, as I said. So nothing is lost. There is no jeopardy. It's all within the time given to him by law.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable West Idahosa. Well, let's take a moment and listen to what the chairman of the House of Representatives, the chairman of the Appropriation Committee has to say on the passage of the budget. Abdul Momin Jibrin.
There is nothing abnormal. It's a normal practice for the National Assembly to send the appropriation bill, the estimates, to the president, and it is also not abnormal for the president to decide to sign, to accent to it before seeing the details or after seeing the details. We've had a lot of instances where President Obasanjo signed the appropriation bill without the details. Then, of course, we came to Yaradua, of course, who always prefer to see the details. So if President Muhammadu Buhari prefers to see the details before accenting to the appropriation bill, I don't think we should make a big deal out of it. It's absolutely normal. We carefully worked on the estimates, and we've sent back the estimate to Mr. President. And the estimate of the budget has been passed. And now we will take a week or two, which is the usual practice, just a week or two, to work on the details. Now we're looking at the reports that were submitted to the Appropriation Committee by the standing committees of the House. We're doing the final harmonization checks here and there before now sending the details to the executive arm of government. That shouldn't take a week or two.
Well, Chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Appropriation, Abdul Momin Jibrin. Honorable West Idahosa, you heard Honorable Jibrin say that in the past, presidents assented to the budget without seeing the details, and this is some kind of departure from that practice, and there's nothing unusual. Do you agree with that point of view?
Absolutely. I said that earlier myself, that it has to do with presidential attitude. I mentioned that President Obasanjo on some occasions signed the budget on the basis of the subhead of estimates sent to him, and that President Yaradua also liked to see the details. So I think that Buhari particularly is justified given the circumstances that led to the passage of the 2016 budget. So certainly nothing is unusual and nothing is uncommon.
All right, Honorable Idahosa, some would argue that this presidential attitude, as good as it seems for the interest of the Nigerians, is holding the economy or the nation at a standstill, considering the fact that the budget was not even presented to the National Assembly on time, the delays and all whatnot. How do you respond to this?
Well, that's a different bottle of fish entirely. I believe that the fact that the president will need to respond to economic yearnings of the Nigerian people should not lead him to sign a document that he cannot defend and he cannot implement, because the buck stops on his table, and it's imperative for him to hold himself accountable to the Nigerian people. And so to that extent, he must realize that the duty to implement the budget is exclusively his own. So it is important for Mr. President to be sure that the budget that he has signed or intends to sign is exactly his contract with the Nigerian people. And that is what he promised, and that is what he intends to deliver to the Nigerian people. So the deliverables must be verified by him. I don't think he should sacrifice his commitment to the Nigerian people on the altar of speed. I think the delay is regrettable, but in the end, if we get it right, we will make up for the lost time.
All right, thank you very much indeed. Mr. Shitu, this stalemate, this seeming stalemate between the legislature and the executive, doesn't it impact on the lives of Nigerians negatively, as good as it may appear to be?
Well, there's no doubt that the delay is having some fundamental effect on the activities of the economy. But this delay is something that can be justified in the sense that it is beyond the issue of attitude, as pointed out by some of the commentators. What is at play is the question of integrity. It's also the question of accountability. It's also, what is also involved here is the need to be cautious before taking major and fundamental decisions that will have far-reaching effects on Nigerians. This is a president, like I said earlier, who prides himself with dignity, credibility, and discipline, above all integrity. And so he has to be familiar with the details. He has to be familiar with what details, what adjustments has been made to the initial proposal. It's important for him to know what implementable spending plan has been made. If he does not take all these precautions, it might just appear as if he signed his death warrant without knowing. And I think it is important that we enthrone a culture of transparency and accountability. There's a lot of controversy that has strained this budget allegations of padding here and there and all that. I think Nigerians will be disappointed if at the end of the day the president goes ahead to sign a document without insisting on particulars, without insisting on details, without knowing what adjustment has been made to the initial. You remember that this is a document that initially proceeds from the president. The president has a responsibility under Section 81 to prepare and present the budget. That responsibility is that of the executive. Whatever adjustments have been made by the National Assembly must be brought to his notice, and he must understand the full implications of this, particularly because the buck stops at his desk. He knows the revenue accruable to the Federation, and he's also familiar with the anticipated expenditure that he intends to undertake.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mawahab Shitu. Well, we take a moment now, and when we return, we continue the conversation, and we'll also look at the infighting within the ranks of the All Progressives Congress. Join us again.